And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Insight on Business. My name is Michael Libby. It's powered by our advertising agency, Insight Advertising, Marketing, and Communications. Our job is to help businesses, our clients, no matter what size they happen to be, do more with what they have to do, better understand advertising and marketing. And those same ideas we bring to you each and every week here live at 8:45 on Mondays or whenever you want. All over the web. This is Insight on Business, and again, powered by Webcast One Live and Insight Advertising, Marketing, and Communications. Are you in business, kids, for love or money? Well, this might kind of surprise you. Many people that we talk to in our business are always driven by the bottom line. But if the bottom line doesn't give you really any satisfaction or joy, is it something really worth doing? Oh, sure, they say money can't buy you love, but it sure can buy you a nice house and a car. But at the end of the day, is it really fulfilling? What is in this thing for you? We're going to talk a little bit about love and money here with Craig Leipold. Now, Craig is the owner of the National Hockey League, ready? Minnesota Wild. And the Minnesota Wild, very successful hockey club up in Minneapolis. The Minnesota Wild has had a farm club based in Houston for the past number of years called the Houston Aeros. And the Houston Aeros have been a mighty great club for the Minnesota Wild. But recently, their contract down there was running out at the facility that they had. Iowa, as you may or may not know, was home to two American Hockey League franchises. One was based for the Dallas Stars, that was called the Iowa Stars, and the other was the Anaheim Ducks, that was known as the Iowa Chops. Well, both of those franchises were relatively short-lived. I think the Iowa Stars, the Stars were here for, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years, and then the Chops came in and lasted 1 year. And so outside of the weather, Des Moines, Iowa has been iceless for the past 3 years. Along comes Minnesota, and they were in negotiations with Iowa, with Polk County, as a matter of fact, for the Iowa Event Center in the Wells Fargo Arena. And we caught up with Craig Leipold last week. There was a press conference that announced, although most people already knew it, that the Minnesota Wild's American Hockey League franchise was going to be relocated from Houston to Des Moines. And it's different this time. We don't think that this is all about money. As a matter of fact, we asked Craig that question, and here's what he had to say during the press release. Ryan, can we go ahead and run that clip?
Okay, great, thank you. I would also be very remiss. One thing, you'll see me in this community at games and things, and as well as our coaches and our general manager and our scouts. But I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you a way that you can buy tickets. And that way would be iowawild.com. Well, Mike, as I indicated, we really, this is a business investment for us that we think is a great investment, only because the market of Des Moines is a great hockey market. We're in this for the long run. We want to be here. We plan to be very engaged in the community. We're going to do things with our players to show that we are involved and that we're committed to this market. And that's a big part of why we think that we're going to be successful, is that we're going to get engaged for the long run in Des Moines.
So there you have it. I mean, what Craig was talking about was the opportunity to come to a place like Des Moines, Iowa, and really show that they're in it for the long haul. I asked Craig off camera, I said, so what's the motivation here? Is it love or is it money? He said, Michael, you have to understand, we really love hockey. Minnesota loves hockey, and we know that because of the closeness, the Iowa and Minnesota, and besides, he said, so many Iowans already hate Minnesota, this should be a wonderful marriage between Minnesota and Iowa, and between Minneapolis and Des Moines. If you're in it for love, you might make a lot of money. If you're in it for money, you might just be miserable. Kind of not a bad takeaway. I think when our guest comes in, Larry Cleverly, I think he'll probably agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's talk about emotional advertising for just a moment. There's all kinds of reasons why companies do emotional advertising. What works better? Fact-based advertising, where you're doing compare and contrast, or you're talking about the history of your company, or whatever it happens to be. Which works better? We happen to think that emotional advertising works much better, and it can be used in different ways. In just a second, we're going to show you a clip. And why this clip came about. Last week, there were 2 campaigns that were launched. Or in the last month, there were 2 major campaigns launched by 2 very big companies. One of them happened to be Johnson & Johnson. Last week, we talked to you about the Dove Beauty Bar ad, the 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I think over 15 million people have seen the YouTube clip already, about where a sketch artist sketched a woman as she described herself, and then another sketch as others described herself. It was very, very touching. This piece is from Johnson & Johnson, who has recently come under fire all over the place in the media. And so how do you best stamp down a little bit of negativity? Well, maybe you go for the hanky. We'll take a look at this brief ad. This was released just last week from Johnson & Johnson. Ryan?
Love. It's the most powerful thing on the planet. Love is there to hold us in the beginning, there to comfort us as we grow old, and there for all the times in between. Love is family. Love is life. And for that love, you sacrifice it all. Love is the reason you care. For the tiny and the fragile, for the wise and irreplaceable, for all the things in your life that make life worth living. Sweet love of mine.
And they even ended with the tagline, "For all you love." All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. That was an emotional ad that was meant to put a human face on a very large corporation. Johnson & Johnson, also based, interestingly enough, out of Wisconsin, isn't a tiny company. And they've decided to go ahead and use emotion to diffuse some negative publicity. And do we think it works? Absolutely it works. There was a study done a number of years ago, back in 2009. I'm reading from the blog post that I put up about this. And we also do this in a presentation. It's called 5 in 24. 5 things a business can do in 24 hours to turn around your marketing. Call me. I'll be happy to come and speak to your group. But this has to do with emotional advertising. Emotional advertising trumps fact-based advertising campaigns. And we reference a study by Harnish, Pringle, and Peter Field, published by Advertising Age in 2009. Scientifically, they say that emotional advertising has a much better remembrance level. People are much easier adopted to it. Now, those emotions can also be laughter. They don't always have to be sad and break out the hanky thing. But the fact of the matter is that if you're trying to rebrand your company, you want to put a human touch on your brand, there's no better way to do that than with emotional advertising. And we think it works mostly in all circles. Now, sometimes you have to be very careful how you go about doing this so that you're not too schmaltzy, you know, that it's just not a little bit too over the top. But every single brand that we could think of has an emotional attachment to human beings. To craft that emotional campaign, you need to be very careful in how you write it, how your photography, your video, and how you carry it through with social media. It can be done. It can be done very well. We've seen 2 examples. I think Johnson & Johnson, nice piece there. Last week we showed you the Dove Beauty Bar piece. That was also an astounding piece that tends to work and work well. So if you're thinking about crafting a rebranding message for your business, no matter the business, why don't you take a look at branding with emotion. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Larry Cleverly, ladies and gentlemen. He's from Cleverly Farms, clever name, I think, and we're going to be talking about his business, which is garlic and other veggies. Why are consumers demanding more and more of this type of product? Where is he selling it? How has his business grown? All of that and much more with Larry Cleverly when we come back. This is Insight on Business, brought to you by Fwirsa Tax, working hard for you until the cows come home. We'll be back right after this.